Hello, my name is Aaron Cavanagh and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Post-Burnout.com. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. This is our website's podcast where we publish full-length recordings of our interviews, which are sometimes the unedited versions of our site's articles and at other times are exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for checking us out. We hope you enjoy and consider subscribing, giving the episodes a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or giving it a rating if you're anywhere else. It really helps us out. Thank you. Alright, in this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, Dave Dictor, the frontperson of the legendary Texan punk band MDC, discusses the band's longevity, being part of the growth of the American hardcore punk scene, their activism and politics, Trump and America, their current European tour, their upcoming album, what the abbreviation MDC stands for today, and much more.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
It's really nice to meet you, man. We've actually very briefly met one time when I don't know if you remember this show, but you guys did a tour with DRI and you played Dublin in that show. So I talked to you a little bit at the merch stand after that show, and
That was a good show, that GRI in Dublin. Is
yeah,
that the show you're talking about?
it was, yeah,
Yeah,
and
about 4 or 5 years ago, or even
yeah,
more. That was a
I
great
think it was
show,
pre-pandemic,
actually.
yeah.
What was the name of that club? The Love Club or
The Voodoo Lounge, which
the
actually I think
Voodoo
does
Lounge?
it doesn't
That
exist
was
anymore,
really,
unfortunately.
really great.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. I think it got closed down during the pandemic. Unfortunately, it's one of those kind of casualties of the pandemic, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I
And
actually did at the stand. I did actually purchase
oh,
your
you
literature.
got them. You got them
So
both.
I made sure to go through my dusty old
So where are you
bookshelf.
located now?
I'm still in Dublin. Yeah,
Oh, you're in Dublin. Cool.
I'm bound to be here for the rest of my life. It seems.
Oh, well, nice place to be. I just, we have this tour coming up, and I knew Dublin wasn't on it.
Yeah.
So, and Dublin's not on the next one. We're playing Rebellion in August,
Yeah.
and we're going to play London and a few other places, uh, but not Dublin. And we'll have to double back and get there, you know, and look forward to it.
Yeah, actually, speaking of Dublin, I was actually yesterday. I was speaking to Noel McQuirk, who put on the first MDC show. He was the promoter from Hope, who put on the first MDC show. I think in '92 when you played here. I don't know if you remember that show, but he told me to say hi because
In
I mentioned.
Dublin,
Yeah, he told me to
at the
say hi because you mentioned.
Barnstormers.
Yes,
It was
a
a
club run
biker
by the Hell
bar.
Angels.
It was
Yeah, it's run
really
by the Hell
great.
Angels.
It was really, back in the day, we couldn't play every bar. We weren't quite considered professional music world. So we'd end up at the biker bar. That's people. We a bunch of different bars. We played Oslo, and not Oslo. We played Bergen.
Hmm.
And a great biker bar. But I remember Barnstormers, and it was really great. There's a place in Vegas called the Dive Bar, which is a biker hangout, and we played all kinds of places, and anyone who will have us, as long as it's good atmosphere and good vibe.
Yeah.
Then I'm really, I'm not above anybody or below anybody. We once played a place in Hiroshima. If you ever been to Hiroshima, the whole like 5 mile by big square area, that was the bomb got dropped on.
Hmm.
And then right on the edge of that, they built a big, tall 10-story building, and they put a club on top of that. And we played that club, and I was sitting in the chair and using the microphone that Yo-Yo Ma used.
Oh wow.
And that was right. The guy told me that, and I'm like, I don't know how much more humble I could, I'm just like, I am very grateful to be in the same spot with Yo-Yo Ma, with the same sound man in the same club. But and then other times we're at the Barnstormers with bikers and a PA that doesn't work, and just mayhem in the crowd. But MDC's been going 47 years
Hmm.
and seen it all, and through it all. And I'm still in it and I'm still enjoying it and still creating music and find it just one of the most satisfying things that I did with my life. Sometimes I go, should I have been a doctor? Did I go the wrong way? And blah blah blah. But I think we all have our different talents and gifts. I don't know how good I am with holding a scalpel or performing an operation or having it. I'm
Yeah.
not. I don't think I'm that gifted. So better off me holding a microphone and writing down some poetry and singing them out.
Yeah, plus it's less pressure when you do your first gig versus your first surgery, I guess.
Yeah.
If you blow your first gig, it's not a big deal. If you blow your first surgery, it's a big deal.
Cool for you in Dublin. We've played Galway and we've played Belfast, but that's all we ever played. I was always hoping to make it to one of the other, Cork or somewhere else, but it just never kind of happened. You know, uh, we're always when we come over, we're generally playing right at the same time as Rebellion,
Hmm.
which is in Blackpool, and it
Yeah.
kind of sucks the air out of the room for a lot of people are going to the big club that happens in America when we play punk rock bowling. If you play anywhere near Vegas or the weekend in LA before, I go, what's going on? Why is there no one here? Oh, everyone's saving their money and going to Vegas to the punk rock bowling thing. And same there in the UK with in Blackpool, the Rebellion Festival, which is really a great festival.
Yep.
We're playing, we're part of it. It's the 50th year of punk rock. Uh, and it's going to be quite a great time. And I'm glad we're playing there. Come on down. And
Yeah, no, what's also cool about like Rebellion is like all the little shows they put on around it because like it really is an opportunity for like artists who probably wouldn't be in the UK otherwise to actually do some shows not only around Blackpool but also nearby cities like Liverpool or Manchester or whatever. So you do get kind of like it is kind of like bringing sort of punk to not only Blackpool but also kind of like the surrounding areas too.
it's kind of like Mecca,
Yeah,
everyone can come from around the world. I have friends I see from Finland, from Japan, Indonesia, all over the place. Round Eye from China is playing there this year. And it's just for me as a fan, I get to like walk from room to room to room and I'll catch like six, seven, eight things, which, and just in my life at this point, I won't go out and spend 40 or $50 or whatever, $30 to see somebody, but if I can see Stiff Little Fingers and Gary Noonan and all these different other kind of great bands, then I'm going to do that. And
yeah.
quite a good festival, and Darren's got to put it on. It used to be the Holiday in the Sun Festival, and
Hmm.
it used to be called what it was called. It was called something else, Wasted Festival.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I knew Holiday in the Sun. I didn't know Wasted.
Yeah, yeah. And they were either in Morecambe or in Blackpool.
Oh,
And
okay,
uh,
so that was the same
and then
festival, yeah.
somewhere around 15, 18 years ago, they changed it to Rebellion, and it's been
Yeah.
the Rebellion Fest now.
Yeah, no, it's a really great festival. I think I've been to it a few times, and it's just yeah, like you said. I mean, just like wandering from room to room, and just because like a lot of times like the ballroom might be like over capacity, so you're like, well, shit, I can't see that band. I guess I'll go check out something else, and you just discover like so many interesting shit. I love that. I forget the name of the room, but you know that room that has like the two stages, so like it's just consecutive music back to back. I love that
Uh,
one.
I know there's like the Queen's Ballroom, and
Yeah,
then there's different ones, and you can just, you can walk maybe 50 meters and get to see three or four different stages
yeah,
with whole different attitudes, and some will be Steve Ignorant singing crash songs, and then I've seen like the Business doing like an oi set, and I've seen the Dead Kennedys, in their room, and someone like GBH or Leftover Crack in another room. It was really a lot of fun how you just absorb a lot. And yeah, it's just real convenient, and it's real fun atmosphere. It's just great to be with 15,000 punks. And last year there was all this uprising of like far right kind of people against immigrants,
Oh,
and they
really?
tried to come to the club and gather strength or just to say we don't like you punks, and like they got chased away by thousands of people. And,
Yeah, good.
there was like 50 of them, like acting tough, and then everyone just got up and just went out. And I really love that kind of a scene. Uh, I know this year Charlie Harper's playing from the UK subs. A lot of great acts. I look forward to being there.
Yeah, I want to talk about like the longevity of MDC as you were mentioning there. Well, first of all, I guess what I'll ask is, I know the initials MDC kind of the meaning of that changes over time. So today, what does MDC mean to you?
Uh, well, what is the new MDC?
Yeah.
Uh, well, it was like mismanaged disease catastrophe with the pandemic,
Yeah.
and now something. Here we are, where it's a very sobering time in America with Trump as president. Uh, mismanaged disaster, presidency, or death for democracy. I haven't quite put my head around what I want to do. I joke like, millions of dogs and cats, mommy's delicious chocolate, the multi-death corporation, millions of damn Christians. It's still all those things.
Yeah.
Millions of dead children. Uh, and let me work on that new MDC for you. Just
Perfect.
kind of like blowing up and not really computing.
Yeah.
I am about to go on tour in about 2 weeks and 4 days or something like that. We fly off and we meet up in Amsterdam and we start my 25th European tour. And how's it feel to be doing this 47 years later? Feels really good. I feel like every day I can use myself to plug in, to sing about stuff that means stuff to me, whether it's about the multi-death corporation, or it's about business on parade, or John Wayne was a Nazi, or no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. It's just another beautiful day. I get to put myself out there and give and be of service to my community, to my planet, at the thing I kind of do best, sing, write poetry, and have this band that's like a political musical troupe that goes around, sings songs, talks about why I'm singing these songs, why I feel this way about how it's mean to throw immigrants out of the country and just scoop them up in the night, drop them to El Salvador, put them in a prison,
And
separate
not even
children from their parents.
yeah, but
It
not even just
really,
citizens. Like you were recently seeing, like even natural born American citizens actually getting thrown in now. It's insane,
yes,
like what the new regime is doing.
it's pretty incredible. And people that are here legally with green cards, they got shipped to this prison in El Salvador because they had a tattoo.
Yeah, yeah, because they said
And one of
it
them
was
went like this and
invitation.
was like, "Oh, that was a gang sign."
Yeah.
And they have a picture of George Bush, the president, doing like this, and they have a picture of like, you know, uh, you know, Donald Trump with his fans doing the same gang, quote unquote, sign, and it was a Real Madrid sign, and this was a soccer player from Venezuela. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly what's going on, but he got picked up, shipped off to El Salvador. They're trying to get him out, hopefully. Uh, very cold people in the government. They're very entitled. They don't want to care about anything. They don't want to care about centuries of slavery and why there's a difference between crime and success rates between white people, Spanish people, people of different have different things. They want to have
Hmm.
no empathy, and they want to pollute and take as much riches and not worry about taking care of poor people and not care about having that spirit of we're all in this world together and we all got to take care of each other. It's the
Yeah.
opposite spirit. It's the spirit of all for me. I don't care about you. In fact, we can ship you off to a prison somewhere in another country. Uh, pretty awful. And we're in the middle of it here. you know, MDC registered people to vote in the last 5 years, went around to these elections, and and we encouraged people to vote. Man, I guess we didn't get out there enough. They're very clever. It's kind of confusing in this last election. The Democrats won, and it's hard to get too excited about the Democrats because they still bomb Gaza and they still waste money on war and death. They're still capitalizing and making money off terrible situations that involve hunger, and they're into the capitalist system.
Hmm.
And but at least there's a little more respect for everything with the
Yeah.
Democrats. But anyway, in that last election, Trump got more votes than Biden, but Biden got 5 million less votes. And you wonder where those people went. Did they all go to Trump? Some of them got cut off the voter rolls. Very, very tough. But anyway, we got to fight. I'm working within this system to fight and to speak out and to encourage people to vote and to organize and to boycott economically. Tesla, to boycott
Yeah.
economically, all the businesses, the tech, Google, Tesla, uh, all kinds of businesses. McDonald's is one of them, and Amazon's another big one. A lot of tech bros, but a lot of billionaires. And right now, Elon Musk, they're just spending money on elections, spending millions and millions of dollars. He gave over $250 million,
Hmm.
which is an insane amount of money for one person to give. And sadly, the United States doesn't have laws.
Yeah.
They made it so you're free to give as much as you want. So uh, and these guys are pretty terrible. I wouldn't even be surprised Trump is funded by Putin.
Mm. Oh yeah, totally.
You
Yeah,
know,
no, it's an interesting thing too,
they
because like,
definitely did things to influence the election, uh, all that. Anyway, so that's what's going on a simple level. I got a little fatigued with politics right after the election, and
sure.
I went to Thailand in my own time, kind of hung up with elephants and just blissed out in Thailand. And I went to Morocco and rode a camel and hung out with baby camels and camel petting zoo. Was spent time in southern Portugal and in southern Spain. I went to Seville for the first time. I went to Lisbon. I went to Algarve section, which is Lagos and Fado. Really nice, cool places to be in the winter. Uh, kind of kind of like Ireland, windswept facing west on the west coast of Ireland.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of water there, beautiful Atlantic Ocean, especially in Morocco. And I just did some fun things. And don't forget to see the world, everybody. It's kind of like something really invigorating for me to see different people, different cultures. Uh, I know the economics of somewhere like Thailand and the kingship of Morocco and of Thailand. Not something I necessarily want to embrace,
Sure.
but just different parts of the world with different ways of thinking. It was really very interesting. And I
Yeah.
really enjoyed being with the animals and nature. uh, the coast of Morocco, where the Atlantic Ocean is a place called the Hercules Caves, where Hercules once supposedly hung out at these caves to do some of the ritual things he was doing on his long journey,
Yeah.
pre-Iliad and all that. Uh, I think that's very interesting how the gods mated with the daughters of kings and created this super race. And Hercules was kind of man and God, and just on a mythology level, I'm really just interested in that. And I think the Celtics are very interesting too. And my headspace has been a little there. I was visiting archaeology caves and spending some time just letting my mind drift in that direction and not so much hardcore punk rock, political. This is what I think about this. This is what I think about that. I just needed to refresh myself and just, if it wasn't punk rock, if it wasn't, music that I was in, I might be an archaeologist. I might just be just out there on a dig, being with people, learning about stuff, talking about it in schools. I think it's quite interesting.
Do you think like yeah, being like well traveled is sort of I guess a necessity to combating I guess things like that we're kind of mentioning like xenophobia or bigotry or discrimination, things like this, like these kind of societal ills. Do you think getting out and actually kind of experiencing different cultures in that sense is actually a good remedy to that?
It certainly is. And we've been doing it 46, 47 years. It really changed when we kind of took a stance and said we're for human rights, we're for gay rights. We kind of stood up to some bully bands, the Bad Brains were on this
Yep.
kind of like this Christian, Coptic Christian kind of Rastafari thing. And on the personal level, they just be like, "Oh, blood clot faggots," and talk about gay people and blah blah. And and I had to, say we were doing shows and go, I disagree with this band completely. I think it's a wrong way to be. I think love in your heart, accept people who they are. Everyone's going through a lot. There's no one religion to tell you you're a blood clot faggot and you deserve to die because you're not living enough up to Rastafarian values or Christian morality, whatever you want to put it in. And that's really changed, in the 47 years. There is gay marriage. There is, more trans awareness, and it's hitting a speed bump right now. And there's, a reactionary level to everything with this Trump in America. I don't know. I can't speak to what's going on in Ireland, say,
Mhm.
but I think it's pretty progressive there.
Yeah, well, we have our reactionaries too. It's weird because I
Yeah,
think Ireland went through like a traditional, a transition from kind of Catholic conservatism to kind of more, I guess, secular progressivism in a relatively uh well, most countries were doing it in the 60s. We kind of did it in the 90s, so we were playing catch up a little bit. But we still have kind of like reactionaries now who are romanticizing that time. I think it's like an issue. I think it's a pan-European issue. Like I think you can look at it like Germany or Italy, Sweden, France, like they're having these issues too. I think
yeah.
like no matter how progressive or advanced your country seems on the surface, there's always going to be that underlying rot.
We all a bunch of apes that fell out of trees, and 2,500 500 300 years ago, they put Socrates to death.
Yeah.
Partly because he was gay. He also told them how stupid the Peloponnesian Wars were for 30, 40 years and said, what are we wasting all our resources on it? And sure enough, when, the results of the Peloponnesian Wars weakened Greece, so eventually the Romans took them over.
Hmm.
And but they didn't want to hear it, so they put them to death. So people who don't want to hear what other people have to say, and they can say democracy, but democracy can just be, the mob plus one,
Yeah.
and that's the majority, and the mob minus one is the minority. And yeah, human nature kind of is consistently, if you follow, we like to believe like since World War II, there's been a lot of progress, and there has been.
Yeah.
And there's less homophobia, and there's more United Nations, and there's less war going on in the world than ever has been. But it's not perfect, as we know.
Yeah.
And, you know, and all we can do is keep working towards it. And being being on the tour is really ultimately trying to talk to people, share our values and what our songs talk about, whether we have a song War is a Racket or we have a song like The Big Lie. It's a lie is always a lie. It doesn't matter who's in charge, always lies at large. That the people, politicians will manipulate you, these populists, with your new song called Demagogue. And that's also one of the fun things I've got together with our guitar player Barry Ward, and we've written together about 30 songs in the last 2 years. We released one album about a year and a half ago, and we have another one coming out in a couple months. And it's just fun to be creative. It's I wish this for everybody, to find what makes you feel good and what makes you feel creative and happy, and you can have success with it. Uh, because just being a musician and making music for people is pretty good, and I'm enjoying myself. And I'm here. I am about to go out. We've done almost close to like 2,700 gigs in our 46 years, and I look forward to being out there, just doing them. We're doing 29 gigs on this tour coming up. Starting in Amsterdam, we're floating up to Scandinavia, and then back down around to Poland and Czech Republic and the Baltics for the first time. Just look forward to it all. It's all, I love it. It's just second nature to me, and just to communicate and see people from Helsinki, Finland, or Oslo, Norway, or Belyask, Poland. Is just so stimulating, and and we get to be with our people, and communicate, and in the culture of punk rock, and politically oriented and humanist oriented punk rock. These are my people, and it's like pretty cool. And I'll be out there rocking it for you.
I want to talk a little bit about the ideals of MDC because, like, to me, I thought, like, for a while, um, people were kind of catching up almost to your ideals, especially like around, say, for example, questioning kind of systemic injustices, questioning things like police brutality and how it kind of affects minorities and particularly targets minorities. Questioning things like ICE and all these kind of organizations. And now it seems like we're in a regressive time sort of after that. I mean, did you have any optimism in the sense that people seem to be kind of changing and becoming aware? I mean, I think of the term woke, for example, which has become a very heavily politicized term, and that
Right.
initially started amongst a term that had significance amongst Black Americans to say, stay woke, and it meant stay aware of these injustices, stay aware of your treatment versus a white person's treatment, and just be kind of like aware of all these things. Now it's just become this amorphous term used by the right that has no significance. Anything that's in any way progressive or even left leaning is woke. And I was wondering, how do you feel about kind of like um the those kind of ideals you're talking about in punk rock in terms of like wider mainstream society now?
All right, a lot in there. First of all, you know, to be ahead of the curve on talking to my American and people, about racism, about homophobia, in the 80s. And people were, about the national corporations that are destroying the planet, or hunting all the whales, or chopping down all the rainforests. Uh, and it, I'm glad I was there to be aware of it. There's something in me that wanted to research that, that got brought up in the New York City area. I had parents that were progressively politically not radical, but just encouraged me to talk and think about it. And I was also in the tail end of the Vietnam War, and I got to see, people's older brothers not make it back from the war, and just
Mhm.
kind of realize what a this was like a make believe problem that they sent American boys to go die in,
Yeah.
and 55,000 of them died, and they finally realized, well, maybe this is not the greatest idea to try to take over Vietnam,
Yeah.
like, a country all the way around the world that had nothing to do with you, who fought the Japanese in World War II. Just realized it was all about oil and resources and control.
Mhm.
And that played into me early, which led me to be kind of a minstrel with my music, playing for people, saying how I feel, and to have that, whether it was John Wayne was a Nazi, or corporate death burger, radioactive chocolate, uh, it was like little things that people needed to hear and to push progress forward through music, through energy, being part of creating punk rock and hardcore American political punk rock, which I was right in the middle, in the front of at the beginning, was just this beautiful come together of energy that, it all just came together and created American hardcore punk rock, politically oriented, along with the Dead Kennedys, along with the Circle Jerks, the Bad Brains, Black Flag. And it was just our place to be, that piece of the culture that was there, and we did it, and and still choose to do it. And so that's what I feel about that. And then what else we were talking about? Talking about homophobia, but what else are we talking about?
I was just wondering, like, I mean, do you think these kind of ideas have, in any way, like, you mentioned there, kind of like questioning of corporations and capitalism in a greater scene, and I noticed that too amongst definitely young people because I think they're feeling, they're absolutely like every job now has like such shit contracts. Everyone's treated as so disposable. People are pissed off, and they can't afford anything. Like the cost of living everywhere, it seems, is like incomparable to minimum wage. It's just like it's not, and every contract for like people is minimum wage, or it's just barely over minimum wage. So do you think people are kind of becoming a bit more I guess aligned with the values you were singing about in a mainstream way?
They really got away with a big one. They invented, computers got invented,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden that was supposed to make everything so much more streamlined, and the profits would get shared with the people, with the workers, and that didn't happen.
No.
We're still, workers are still making, the minimum wage or whatever, even in computers. It's not like it used to be. Like a lot of people got involved with computers. They were making 30, 40,000 a year and they had all these benefits. But then in the real world, 30, 40,000 a year is not all that much to a lot of
No.
people,
And also,
especially if you're
sorry,
raising a
just
family.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just to add to that, also, I believe for a while, I think it's changed now, but for a while, people in the tech industry weren't allowed to unionize. That was another thing too, so they couldn't do collective bargaining either.
Yeah. Uh, and here we are, and in our country, we got Elon Musk firing people, talking about getting rid of Social Security and, benefits for people, medical benefits, Medicare for, at a certain age. And like you're supposed to just die unless you have tens of thousands of dollars to pay for hospital care. And we'll see what happens here. How much can they try to steal back from us? How much of a non-egalitarian planet where people have billions of dollars and take all their money and have these private playgrounds, and they're and a quarter or a fifth of the planet goes to bed kind of hungry and malnourished at night, and another tenth don't have enough health care, or they don't have enough, educational possibilities. And instead they build prisons instead of colleges, and that whole thing. And that's what we're doing. It's our energy of music and rock and roll. Of course, to a certain extent, music and hardcore is entertainment. It's like, it's like, Madonna or whoever is out there, Justin Bieber, they're
Yeah.
out there to provide relief for people, but they can also have opinions. And I think everyone's I think everyone's going to get smarter here quick. I think they're going to try to pull the wool over everyone's eyes, but I think we're going to stick together, and people are going to demand, healthcare and in a more egalitarian system. It's like they say, if we studied a tribe of chimpanzees and a certain amount of chimpanzees hoarded all the food and all the all the power, and some of the chimpanzees starved, and while other chimpanzees had more than enough, what would we think of those chimpanzees? And now put that to human beings. Some people have more than they need, and they deny it to people who have less. And it actually makes me. I'm a Catholic by birth. Uh, I saw the movie The Two Popes,
Oh yeah.
and Pope Francis. And his major tenet, they're like, rich people are killing poor people by not sharing the resources more equitably. It's a sin before God, and it's a sin among, even if you don't believe in God. It's criminal,
Mhm.
and I think that's going to come about. I sure hope so.
Yeah, it's interesting how many, if you actually boil it down to pure beliefs, how many of Jesus' teaching kind of aligns with Marx, if you think about it.
Yeah, Jesus and Marxism.
Yeah.
Certain about communal coming together as one. Where all souls are equal, and the whole Bolsheviks gave communism a bad name.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, Stalin and Mao,
Yeah.
which is very interesting and a whole nother topic for discussion. Uh, yeah, yeah. Uh, it's beautiful. That's why going to rebellion is nice to be with tens of thousands of people in one spot and having an ethic and having a community. And I think that's an important thing to have right now is community.
One
I
thing,
like the community. I
sorry.
like the community of us
Yeah,
here
me too.
communicating to each other about punk rock, hardcore, music, art, our time on Earth, people in 2025, and what are the issues, global warming,
Mhm.
whatever. Not enough, you know, resources shared equitably
I
to
would
every
definitely say
member of
that.
the human family. Never, and the animals too. Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
I'm an animal rights person too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No,
Yeah, there's a great movie by Moby. It's called a punk rock vegan movie. And Moby, who kind of successful, he kind of
yeah.
does box music and different types of things. He's a multi-level artist actually. And he put me in his movie and he highlighted, let me talk about stuff and said I was one of the early people involved in punk rock and vegan and vegetarianism. And I believe in him. I'm plugging Moby in that movie. The vegan punk rock movie is called.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask a little bit about like not your previous record, but I think it was the album before. It came out in it was called Mind Trump, and it came out just like in his first term. I think just at the beginning of his first term. How do you compare like that now, looking back, like his first term compared to now? And in a lot of ways, I mean, MDC have like so much material for so much like material for content, but like and so much like material to write about, and you're definitely not short of things to critique or to complain about. But is that a positive thing or a negative thing? I mean,
He's gotten
would you prefer
definitely
that to?
more empowered and more brutal and more authoritarian. He was already kind of a jerk, and now he's
Yeah.
total, full on fascistic, authoritarian, cheat, feel sorry for himself, criminal. Violated 37 women, that have sexual misconduct and or rape,
Hmm.
affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein and going to an island of pre-adult females. What a what a what a evil motherfucker
Yeah.
is, and the whole thing. I'm rich and I don't have to have any kind of conscience. I don't have to owe anything to anybody. I can just deny and lie. There's some narcissism wrapped around some other psychopathic tendency behavior, and here we are, you know, and we're on this planet together, and we got to talk it out. And it's nothing new. It's like we said, the Greeks had to deal with the people that killed Socrates, and the Romans had their people, that just they couldn't be happy. They had to be chaos agents and uh, steal from everybody and steal the national, the international treasures and of life.
Mhm.
Instead of feeding everyone and taking care of everyone, they're just out for themselves. And I understand it's human nature. We're all apes that fell out of trees, fighting for coconuts on the ground, and we'll kill for those coconuts, and we'll lie and cheat. And here we are, a certain amount of hundreds of thousands of years later, 200,000 years later, in the Homo sapien. But I still
Mhm.
consider Homo erectus part of the human family,
Yeah.
even though they were a different, same species, just a different branch of the Homo. And here we are in this rocket ship Earth going around the planet, flying through space, and it's magical and mysterious, and also it's we need to stand up for ourselves and communicate about what the world needs, and that's part of rock and roll, that's part of punk rock, that's part of hardcore, and it's good to be out there doing something better than sitting at home twiddling your thumbs, have a cane in my hand and say, "Get off my lawn." Like an old man yelling at the kid, "Get off my grass."
Yeah. Do you think that like now, do you notice any parallels between today and when MDC first started? Because like, one thing you were mentioning there was the kind of
It's
transphobia
like
and the hatred of trans people. And
it's
to me
like I
it
was
seems
saying
like
before, it's like the homophobia was worse, and there was nuclear bomb, death war. Seemed like it was going to happen any minute.
yeah.
Trump and the Cold War and Russia, and I grew up in all that. And the Vietnam War. People died and didn't get to live their lives, and I think there's less of that now.
Mhm.
But the complexities are still there that make people greedy and make people abuse other people. And that hasn't gone away. It's just less of it and it's hiding. So it is connected and is similar. The scene was different. At first, it was just a smattering of people. There was 200 or 300 people in about 20 American cities that I knew about in 1980 and 79. The bigger shows like Iggy Pop and the Runaways and the Ramones, Talking Heads, Blondie, Dave Bowie, that was gigantic, and they're punk to all sorts of degrees. But um, in the hardcore political punk rock scene like this, that was starting in 1978, 79, that had bands like Discharge and GBH and The Exploited and the Dead Kennedys and Black Flag, Minor Threat, MDC. There was a much less amount of people. So it was so exciting to build it up and watch it grow, and then it kind of like in 86, 87, 80, it blew up and went into like all these different parts. There was crusties, there was grindcore, there was melodic core. That people just started, going backwards. And instead of playing hard fast, it got more melodic and background melodies and vocals and the Green Days and No FXs and all the different things, Rancid and whatever it's grown into here, big gigantic punk rock family, and it's very interesting. And it's so big now. It's kind of it's in the main culture.
Yeah.
Dropkick Murphys are playing at the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
uh, in front of millions of people. It's like it's happened. Uh, So it's beautiful how it blossomed in some ways, but it was very special back in the old days as well, being part of creating that whole network of scenes where we drove vans back and forth to each other. Jello Biafra found our single and invited us out to come play with them in San Francisco. And Minor Threat called me up and said, "Can you do a show in Austin, Texas?" And we held a show for them in Austin, and it just started just people on the phone with each other, small, tiny network. Now it's a big business. We're playing Rebellion. It's going to have 300 bands, 7 stages, going on for 4 or 5 days in a row, 5 days,
Yeah.
and just it's just great to be part of it. So it was fun back then, and it grew into something, and it's still a lot of fun.
Perfect. Dave, you've been very gracious for your time. I'll try and take it too much more. I just had two final questions. One, you were mentioning this European tour that's about to kick off in a few weeks. I was just wondering, you were kind of mentioning, building that network throughout the 80s and, what it kind of grew up, what it kind of expanded to. Do you think now that you're able to kind of travel to all these like different places, see these different cultures, as you mentioned, Scandinavia, the Baltic nations, Eastern Europe, and also like because I know you guys support Day Kennedys under European tour in '82, and just places that like you because the Iron Curtain at the time you just literally couldn't go to at the time. Do you think now with that kind of expansion, it's sort of you're able to enjoy the fruits of the labor that you put in back then?
Yes, we do. And I really enjoyed going. We've gone 3 times to Asia, Indonesia, and Thailand, and Japan has a great scene.
Yeah.
And we went to China. It's right there. We played Beijing at the old school club, and it was just so rocking and so cool to be part of this international punk rock movement. We played with a band called Round Eye, and we played Singapore, and we played Malaysia, and we played Australia, and we played New Zealand. And you're right, in 1982, we didn't even dream of going to those places. Uh, but here we are. We're able to have that international community, and yeah, it's just we're planning to go to Asia again next February, I guess 9 months from now. And yeah, man, start a band, and see the world and be part of something, that sings what's in your heart and what's in your soul that you want to share, whether it's we're just a minor threat or whatever Joe Biafra's holiday in Cambodia
Yeah.
or I'm singing John Wayne was a Nazi. You get your yayas out. Rock and roll's been that for us, and I'm real lucky to be part of it, and look forward to seeing everybody out there.
Yeah, and also shows are a good place to meet musicians who are of a like mind, in terms of ideals and also in terms of musical taste too. So if you're at like a club, maybe shake hands with the person next to you.
Yep. Well, let's stay in touch, and maybe we get ourselves to Dublin next year.
Perfect, man. I'd love to see that. Just one final thing I wanted to ask, just for wrap up, you were mentioning you're working on new music now. So kind of like when can kind of people expect that? And then I'll let you get on with your
Coming out in
day.
May. We already did it. We did a covers album, and we did haven't done nothing, which is Stevie Wonder song. We did Heartbreaker by the Stones, and we punked them out and changed the arrangements around. Really happy with it. We did a Motorhead song, uh, Take the Blame. You can take the money, but can you take the blame? And we did American by Slayer, and we did this song by the Dicks, and just some of our bands that were just smaller bands, but we just felt like these songs needed to get out there. No Fucking War by the Dicks. We did The Last
I love
War
that song.
by Heart Attack. We did uh, what else we did? We did a Woody Guthrie song. We did a bunch of different songs. I'm really proud. It's going to be out in Cleopatra. Go to cleopatra.com. Look for we're on that label also on Beer City Records for the older stuff. And look for us on Spotify. You can listen to us for free, if you don't have a record player. And Yeah, creating new stuff is just fun as can be. And this album finished just a couple months ago, and I'm gonna get back into the studio and start doing more music. And I'm working on a tour we did to Asia with the Restarts. We're gonna put out a movie with that, and talking about playing Indonesia together. We played Pirate Island. Pirate punks put on this free show on this island in the middle of the Java Sea, about I don't know, it's about 300 kilometers south of Jakarta. It was incredible. They had vegan food. It was just this idyllic kind of cool thing in the Java Sea, and we filmed it. Just want to mix it and get it out there for people. And we still do lots of benefits and things like that, pushing for people uh, to be able to support people, to register them to vote, to get them to be active and be part of boycotts. They're boycotting the companies that are supporting bad shit, and Fox News Network is one of them, and we want to be part of something that's beautiful. That's going to change the planet for the good, and have a better place to live for everybody. That's
Great.
what it's all about.
Thank you very much for your time, Dave. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Peace,
Enjoy the
love,
rest
and
of your
rock and
day.
roll.
Peace, love, rock and roll. Take care, man.
I love you, man. Thanks a lot. Write me if you need anything, and stay in touch. Okay.
Perfect. Take care.
You're beautiful out there, everybody. We'll see you on tour.
See,
Rebellion.
see, go see MDC on tour.
Cool, man. Thank you very much.
Absolutely good. Take care.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're an independent venture run by yours truly, and as I said at the beginning, liking, rating, subscribing, and sharing really helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, we do have a PayPal donation link in the episode description, but don't feel obligated, of course. We've also begun releasing occasional exclusive episodes on Spotify, so subscribe there if you'd be interested in hearing those. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.